Hi everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am back with day 20 of Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches Series 7. Today's sketch is from the Let's Get Sketchy blog, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but the sketch is by Bramble. I love this sketch as soon as I looked at it because I thought it was simple and I love the way it had hexagons in it. I decided to use some beach photos for this layout. I have a little stack of beach photos from a number of years ago that I'm trying to get scrapped. I used a hexagon punch to punch out hexagons in several different colors. For this layout, I'm not using any one paper collection. I'm going into my scrap bin and I'm pulling out some summer colors that I think look nice together. And I was waiting for the perfect moment to pull out this title that says Here Comes the Sun. This was created by Alice Bowl and it is manufactured by Bramble Fox. It is a prize that I got and many of us got for finishing a load challenge not too long ago. And it's just beautiful. So I thought that this fit perfectly in the lower right hand corner and I'm excited to get it onto a page. So you can see I'm using two photos. One on the left is of my two daughters at the beach in Cape Cod, and the photo on the right is a picture of the sand. And it might seem a little odd to include a picture of the sand, but the sand there was textured in a way that I really don't see at other beaches. So I just wanted to remember that and think my children will appreciate remembering that because we talk about it a lot when we're there. So I included a small picture of the sand. I mounted the picture of my daughters on a piece of blue pattern paper and then on some white cardstock, and then I did the same thing with the sand except I used some yellow pattern paper. Here I have a piece of my favorite 120-pound smooth white cardstock, and I've already coated it in white gesso. Recently, I started using some bubble wrap to do the packaging technique, and I found this bubble wrap in my drawer, and it was cool because it had kind of a wave pattern on it. Unfortunately, though, the bubble wrap had deflated over time, so you could see that it makes some kind of a pattern on there, but basically it's a piece of plastic that I'm using for the packaging technique, and like I said, it seems that there's some vague amount of texture, but not what I had hoped. So, like I was hoping for those wavy lines that it must have had when it was inflated. I'm using some different sprays on the background, and I'm trying to make that triangular shape. I'm not sure exactly where all the hexagons are going to go, so I'm just making a triangle that I think will be large enough to kind of stick out a little bit from underneath the hexagons and the other shapes as well that are going to go on top of it. So I used some sprays and I made sure they were dry. Now I splattered some water droplets on top and I lifted up a little bit of the color. I like the way that that looks like water and like little water droplets in the color. And I just like the look of it in general. It just adds a cool effect to it, I think. Now that everything is dry and I've added some splatters, I'm going in with this stencil. This stencil is made by a designer named Brutus Monroe. I love the shape of this stencil and I love the way it fits onto a triangle really well. And I'm using some Vicki Boutin Iridescent Glaze. And I've been using that a lot lately and I think it looks really cool on water layouts. So here I am just spreading the iridescent glaze, and I do dry the background a little bit because I'm going to be layering the stencil on top of what's already there and I don't want to smear what I've already put down. I've done that many times, so I think it's worth taking a few moments and just drying anything that your stencil is going to be layered over. I also like how the iridescent glaze is very subtle. Once I was done putting it down, I decided that I wanted to have a little bit more of a punch of color, so I went back in with a little bit darker blue and I sprayed that in a couple of areas. And again, I'm using the packaging technique and I'm still using that same piece of plastic that I used before. And I know I've mentioned this before in other videos, but make sure that anytime you're using modeling paste or iridescent glaze or anything like that that you put through a stencil, that it's totally dry before you put any colors on top of it or any water on top of it, because it can make a little bit of a mess, or a big mess if you're me. And I can't remember a mixed media layout that I've made recently where I haven't added quite a few white splatters. This is watered down white acrylic paint, and I just keep it handy in a little bottle in with all my mixed media because I just really like that effect. So I like to have it handy. Now that the mixed media background is complete, at least for now, I made sure it was thoroughly dry, and I'm reassembling all of those hexagons and the photos, the circle, the title, and the strip that's in the center. I like to add dimension to the photos, like many scrapbookers. I really have gotten addicted to this fun foam or this adhesive foam, and I use it all the time on most layouts to pop up my photos and some other elements that might be on the page. On this page, I use it only behind the photos. And there's a nice strong white cardstock behind each of the photos to mount the adhesive foam to. Once the photos are mounted on the background, I go back in with the ATG adhesive and I attach all of the elements down. And I don't show you all of this because I already showed me assembling it, but everything is attached down with the ATG adhesive. I also took that orange square and I decided I wanted to add something to it, so I decided to emboss. Now, I have lots of embossing folders that I've picked up over the years, and I really don't make use of them as often as I should. So I didn't even remember how to emboss, like which plates to use in my die cutting machine. So I ended up putting it through and a little circle cut out because I didn't use the right plate. I think there's some kind of a foam plate or a soft plate that you have to use, and I didn't use that. So I cut out a little section of one of those beach balls by accident, but that's okay. I just glued it back in there, and I am really happy I got use of that little beach ball embossing folder that I have. The Here Comes the Sun title is beautiful. I love it. It just wasn't a bright enough yellow to go with the colors that I selected. So I took a gelato and I rubbed it on the entire surface of that title. I probably could have used a alcohol marker or some kind of a marker, but the gelato worked out just fine. I'm gluing a little tiny piece of yellow pattern paper that was just a scrap, same paper that I used to make the circle on the top. And now I'm just putting some gel glue all over the back of that title, and then I'm going to glue it down. And I thought it would probably be a good idea to put something heavy on top of it so it didn't pop up, so I put my glue on top. Now that that's dry, I'm using photo corners. I decided to put different colored photo corners in each of the corners of each picture. I thought it would give it kind of a fun look to have all different colors. So I put orange and red on both, but then I put a yellow on one and a red on the other, and yeah, I use a light blue. I just wanted to make it fun and mix it up a little bit. So I attach all those photo corners down with some ATG adhesive. Photo corners are something that I love. I love that little added touch. And I've also become semi-addicted to putting something else on top of the photo corner, a little pearl or some kind of little embellishment, a enamel dot on this particular layout. And I traded out that little corner because I felt that it wasn't the right color blue. So now I'm going in with some stickers. So I had purchased a number of stickers at the Michaels $1 sticker sale they had a couple of months ago. And this is a Recollections brand set of stickers. And I just thought that these little sea animals and shells, they matched so perfectly with the colors that I was using. So, and they were very whimsical, which is kind of the look that I was going for. So I added in a little seahorse, a little fish. The fish were mainly all facing to the left, but there was that one facing to the right that's up on the top there on the yellow circle. There was a dimensional sticker that was an anchor. And I originally put that starfish in the sun, but I ended up not liking the way that looked. So I moved that over to the center. I had some crab stickers on there for a while, but I decided that I didn't like those. There's an eel up on top, and I'm just using all of the stickers that I see that I feel are a good match color-wise. So I didn't put enough mixed media on the background in a couple of places. So now I'm going back in with the stencil and I'm adding a little bit more iridescent glaze in 2 different spots. And there was really no way for me to put that stencil down without lifting up the picture, because the stencil had to be facing a certain way in order for the drops to come out the right way. So I ended up just temporarily taking the photo off. As another little touch and as a different kind of texture or material, I went back in with these little, I guess they're acrylic or epoxy circles, and they're tinted a light blue, and I think they look kind of like bubbles. So I'm putting a few of these around the layout, not a ton, just picked a couple of different spots, and especially some spots by the fish to look like little bubbles coming out of their mouth. I still wasn't happy with the amount of iridescent glaze and mixed media that was covered up, so I added a little bit more of the iridescent glaze through the stencil, and now I'm going in with some of the sprays that I used before and just putting a little color where I put the new application of iridescent glaze. Sometimes I find it a little hard to judge how far out to go with the mixed media or how much mixed media to put in the background. Usually I put too much, but sometimes I don't put enough, and the good thing is in most cases you could just go back in and add a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding some more color and I'm putting a few little splatters over the top of the mixed media, and now I'm returning my photo to where it was. So I'm rearranging some of those blue bubbles, just kind of moving them around to different places, seeing how they look in some different spots. Although the stickers should be sticky on the background, they're not as sticky as I would like them to be. So I do go in with my glue and I glue down those little bubbles, and I also glue down the stickers on the layout. But I don't show all of that to you, but I think it's important because otherwise I'll find a few days later when I have this layout in a stack that some of the embellishments will fall off. So just putting a little bit of wet glue on the back of every one of those stickers that I put on the layout. And I'm not really sure what I would prefer. Would I prefer to have stickers that stick really well and then I can't move them around the page easily? Or would I rather have stickers that aren't super sticky, I can reposition them and I could just put some glue on them when I'm done? So overall, I guess I would prefer that I can reposition the stickers since I do that all the time. So this is where I go in with some enamel dots. Although I mix up all the colors of the background, I didn't want it to be too confusing to the eye, so I am putting a same color enamel dot on each of the photo corners. And that is the last touch that I add to this layout. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope that if you like this video, you'll give it a thumbs up. Please check out the description box. In the description box are the links to all the other scrapbookers who are following along with this challenge. I hope that you have a fantastic day, and I hope that you'll come back again tomorrow for day 21 of Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.